Not only is the USS Yorktown a very famous aircraft carrier that served in World War II, owning 11 battle stores, she is also one of the most haunted hotspots in all of South Carolina and one of the most haunted ships in all of the United States of America. So she served in World War II owning 11 battle stores. And in addition to World War II, she also served in the Korean and Vietnam War. In 1968, she recovered the astronauts from the Apollo 8, which were the first humans to orbit the moon. She's nearly 900 feet long. She is now a museum, and she is permanently stationed on Patriots Point at Charleston, South Carolina. Do yourself a favor, next time you're in Charleston, make sure you go tour her. You can use Bulldog Tours for their after hours access to the Yorktown, or you can just go to Patriots Point and get a one-day admission ticket. You can the Yorktown. You can tour USS Lafayette. I think there's another submarine there, but I took the Bulldog Ghost Tour after hours on Yorktown, and that was very interesting to see on YouTube where they just dramatize everything, and sometimes it can feel really fake. I don't do any of that, but I do love the ghost tours. So we went on the ghost tour. There was about 20 of us. It was 9 o'clock at night. If you go during the summertime, bring yourself an air conditioner you can wear on your neck or some kind of cooling cloth or something, because it is hot. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you now, there's not much air at all, if at all, circulating in the ship. So just be warned, when you go to the ship, you're going to have to take yourself a couple of showers after. I like to just take a lot of pictures. I like to just observe and watch around me and see how my body feels, if that makes sense, to see if I can get any vibes or anything. Best guide is going to be your body, your eyes, and your ears. Now, when I went on the ship, I really didn't get a lot of creepy vibes at all. Mostly because the lights were on. There were a couple of dark spots on the ship, but even then, I didn't really get any strange vibes or anything. Sometimes I would walk by a hall or walk down a hall or look down a hall while we were going to another place. I would get the chills. I would get the full body chills, but that's about it. I took a lot of pictures. I snapped pictures, and when you're snapping them handheld, you're not going to get the exact angles even when you snap them back to back to back. I did get a few pictures that I thought were, pretty interesting, but nothing that I would hang my hat on and say, hey, this is proof of the paranormal. Now, there are several ghost stories on the ship. One of the three most prominent ones that I like, we talked about the scrap of the dog. Sailor, they were out somewhere. One of the sailors brought in a stray pup, got on the ship. The captain didn't know about it. The captain didn't like dogs being on the ship, so they kept it hidden. Well, one day the captain heard the dog barking, and the captain knew it was there, so they kept him there because the only other option was to, throw him overboard, and they just weren't going to do that. But they kept him, and then over time, the captain's heart, melted a little bit, and the dog grew on him, and he came to love the dog, and the dog loved him. The dog loved all of the sailors, and all of the sailors loved the dog. So, and he didn't pass away on the ship. Whenever they went to port somewhere, some family from another country, they adopted him. But now, one of the main claims is that people hear dogs, they hear a dog barking, or they hear the pitter-patter of feet running across the hallways. Sometimes people have even taken pictures and they have captured the dog. So, but I didn't see any shadows, or I didn't hear any of that, or I didn't feel like there was a phantom dog anywhere on the ship. Another one that I really enjoyed listening to was the story of Lieutenant Hummel. Long story short, to keep this video brief, the lieutenant they had to go do some kind of routine check. They were in the pilot ready room. They were getting ready for a mission. They went out and they got ready for the mission, and then the mission was called off, and then they went back to the ready room with all of the other pilots, and they noticed that the pilot, well, Lieutenant Homer, was missing. He hadn't made it back. So they went out and mounted a search for him. Well, they searched up and down the ship, front to back, top to bottom. They could not find him. And to this day, nobody knows where he is. Nobody knows where he went, what happened to him. So one of the claims is of course, in just about every place that's haunted, they've got the claims of shadow figures. They've got claims of phantom knocks, phantom footprints, phantom marching, stuff like that. Didn't hear any of that, but I thought that was pretty cool. And another story that I really liked listening to, and by the way, our tour guide was Bruce Orr. I highly recommend him. If you can get on a tour with him, you get to go. So we did that. We talked about a pilot on the flight deck that just mysteriously shows up in pictures. Nobody knows who he is. Nobody knows where he's come from. But he'll just mysteriously show up in pictures. One time they were there, and giving a tour, and the people took a picture of the Sea King or Sea Wing or something. So the big helicopter on the flight deck. They took a picture of it through the glass, through the cockpit. And so, there was a picture. It was, you see pictures all the time of what people claim to be shadows. But in this picture that he showed us, there's no debate. There was clearly a shadow there with full uniform dress. You can make out the colors, you can make out the pilot's uniform. That was really interesting. And at the end of the tour, he said that he told us about an experience where he chased what he believed to be an intruder through the ship. I can't remember the specifics. I really didn't want to whip out my camera and record the whole thing just because, I think that's I would have loved to have done it for the channel, but, there were 20 other people on the ship, and I just didn't want to be that guy. And I can't afford to buy out the tour slot and just have it just me on the tour. I would love to do that. I would love to be able to get in there to the Yorktown, turn off all the lights, and be able to have access and be able to just be by myself walking around in the dark with the tour guide. But the only way you can get on that ship after hours is with Bulldog Tours. That's the only way I know of. So I think that would be very interesting to be able to go throughout the halls and access the ship at night by myself with the tour guide or with a close friend or two. If you go to Charleston and you haven't been on the USS Yorktown, do yourself a favor and take a tour aboard. Either go through Patriots Point or Bulldog Tours, and I'll have a link to both in the description. You won't regret it. But in addition to the ghost stories, you'll get real, true history of the ship. Stories, whether these are true ghost stories, these are tricks of the mind, or this is just an 80-year-old ship the sounds of an 80-year-old ship settling. One thing is for certain, the USS Yorktown has a history for being one of the most haunted hotspots in South Carolina. And after getting out there aboard and touring her personally, I can absolutely say the same thing. I feel like there are things there that just can't be explained one way or another.